Let's talk about gifted child behavior problems at home. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about gifted children and behavior problems. So in this video, we are going to talk a little bit about being gifted and what that feels like to the person, and then what type of behavior problems can be displayed at home. So let's talk about being gifted. I actually have personal experience with this because I was considered a gifted child, and a lot of my friends were in all the gifted programs and those types of things with me as well. And there are some things that are struggles for gifted people. And there's also different types of giftedness, right? And then there's, of course, twice gifted. I'm not going to spend my time talking about twice gifted people because that's when usually they've got some neurodiversity and some giftedness that goes along with that, plus being just naturally gifted. And that's a little bit different. Some of this should apply, but that's not my main focus with this. This is just your normal gifted child that is excelling in a lot of different ways. They see maybe how to problem solve something well, or maybe they're really physically gifted. They, maybe in certain sports or in music or in mechanics or art or something like that. Lots of times a person who is gifted will be gifted in one area or another, although there's some people that are more broadly gifted where it's just a general intelligence level that makes it so that life is a little bit more difficult. So let me tell you about behavior problems that I had. And I'm sure my parents to this day go, wow, we should get a medal for, raising Nicholeen. And I know I probably gave them all their gray hairs with all of the things that I did. My poor mother. But I was very, bored a lot. I would get bored in school. I would get bored at home because I wanted something to engage my brain. I remember going to school and being so excited that I would be able to learn something really deep and new, and then going, oh, it's not going to happen. A couple of weeks into the school year, I'd be like, oh, great. Now what do I do? And I didn't feel like at home there was always this emphasis on, what new things can we learn? And it was really undirected play, and that kind of stuff. It was self-directed stuff. And that was great, actually, because then me and my brothers, we went and built businesses and did things. And honestly, that was probably the best way to handle stuff for me, I would think. So I really did have a beautiful childhood. My parents didn't treat me any different than anybody else. They just had me do chores and had me do things like everyone, but I was a little bit more perfectionistic about things, and I would talk back to my parents about things. I would spar with them. I would debate with them. I had a hard time keeping the roles in the right place in my brain because I sort of felt like the academic side of me was the biggest part of me, and so I would forget sometimes in conversation with my parents that I was a child. I needed to be learning from them, and I needed to show more respect. It took me a little bit of time before I really got that. And I had to really go through a hard time in our relationship before I fully understood. It wasn't until a neighbor challenged me to just say okay and be okay to my parents, and me to think I was going to prove the neighbor wrong before I actually changed the relationship with my parents and things improved. So I had to have some humility there. So let's talk about some other things that can happen. Sometimes people who are gifted have a hard time paying attention to things because they just start daydreaming and thinking about other things. That wasn't something that I did as much. I was pretty good at paying attention. In fact, if anything, I was probably hyper-focused, like over-focused a little bit on some things and trying to get the most out of everything, taking in all the social stuff. And I was probably more socially gifted, although there are some people who are called gifted and they struggle socially because academically they're so smart and they ideate on certain things because of their high intelligence, and then they almost can sometimes look like they're maybe autistic or something because they don't catch social cues from people because they're so wrapped up in thinking about all of the things or problem solving the things that they're working on. So probably one of the biggest things that can happen at home is that parents can feel not understood, maybe not appreciated. They might even feel somewhat threatened or attacked by a child that might not be giving them the proper respect that they need. And there are things that you definitely must do about that. Just because they're gifted, they shouldn't get a free pass. They need to learn how to socially behave with everybody else. Parents do have a responsibility to train their child socially so that they can succeed in the world and not go around being offensive to other people. So it is good to learn what to do with these behavioral problems. I have a video all about that. That video is called Treatment for Child Behavior Problems. Click on the link to that video next. I'll see you there.